Hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. In our last episode, we went on a bit of an adventure trying to find, or not find, we knew where they were because, well, we were using the map, the geothermal vents and hook up, was it 5 or 6 more? I think it was 5 more geothermal generators than we had previously, so I think we're up to 11 now. There are 5 more vents on the map. 11 including this one, by the way. There are 5 more, or 6 more vents, 5 more vents? 5 or 6 more vents on the map, but they're off far enough in the distance that I'm not altogether interested in venturing out and getting them, especially given the fact that we have 13.6 gigawatts of power capacity and we're using around 3. And that's with everything-ish running up there, dumping into the mall right now. Some of them might be backed up already, some of the faster ones and stuff like that. But that's using pretty much the whole base, and we're definitely not breaking 4 gigawatts. So we have plenty of power. So at the end of the last episode, I came back to the base here after hooking up the power to the last of the geothermals, and we saw and remembered that we had the Coke power generators there on that platform. I've disassembled all of those. I have an inventory full of stuff. But I did not disassemble the platform. Part of the reason is because I have an inventory full of stuff. And the other part is I might want to use it for something in the future, and it's not really hurting anything. We've got this nice walkway here going over and then down to it. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to go throw some of this stuff either into the mall boxes or probably just into the shredder that we have up at where the hub is. And speaking of that, there's also some other stuff. Oh, that's supposed to be that way. This is the one that's 90 because it's coming out of one assembler. Ooh, it's barely getting enough copper. Why is that barely getting enough copper? See, this is the stuff we should check more often. Copper is just flying down, but it's going every which way because it's going into everything. Is there an issue with the way the copper is? Am I not producing enough copper for some reason? Well, maybe I will get my plans derailed for this episode. No, they're producing enough pollution, that's for sure. Which, as I've seen discussed regarding things like pollution with this game, is Fixit doesn't care about pollution. Fixit cares about profit. So that's why there isn't any green power in the game, like solar or wind. It's all, let's burn something, let's make nuclear power, and not bother having a way to dispose of the nuclear waste. Let's just exploit this planet for our own gain. It's kind of Fixit's MO here. Alright, so what is our issue with these? Oh, that's our issue with these. These output 100 a minute, and we're only taking 60. Ah, okay, let's do Mark 3 belt, because... Oh, no, Mark 2 belt, because that's 120. You. And so then we have... We'll count them all as 100. I think maybe this one is downclocked a bit. Yeah, it's only 67. But 100, 200, this is a 270 belt. 300, this is 480. 400, this is 480. 500, this is 720. 600, this is 720. 700, this is 720. Minus the 67, or minus the 33 that's missing out of the last one, but who kind of cares? That should help a bit. Oh yeah, that helps a lot a bit. Oopsie. That'll make a difference in things. So we have now plenty of copper, hopefully. It's even sticking on those belts a little bit there. Hopefully making it to everything. Going like crazy into the copper sheets. They're pretty well backed up though, so that's not too bad. That one's going pretty good over there, though. It looks like they're going pretty good. There could still be some latent issues with other things taking copper, like the quick wire and things like that because of this. But I think these are okay. Yeah, they're only 15. That's good. And then these guys are 30.2, so that's fine. Are we going to have an issue with aluminum? I think we already are having an issue with aluminum. And I think it's the water. Because these output water, but these pipes are so backed up. This is what we were talking about when we built this along. What the heck do I have here? Oh boy, there's more junk here. And probably in that box too. Yep. I got some base cleanup to do. Okay, well I think that's what we're gonna end up doing today, which isn't what I wanted to do, which is some sort of cleanup-y type stuff. What I intended to do was deal with the hypertubes, but that means that we can do those in another episode, which means one more episode for the series. And as I asked in definitely 2 episodes ago, and possibly also in the last one, let me know if there are things you would like to see for this series that I haven't shown. One of the things that was asked for is possibly doing some overflow shredding, so I may do that yet in an episode, but we can definitely do anything else you guys are interested in doing. So let's first off, let's try something on this. So one of the thoughts I had early on, and I don't know if this makes a difference or not, but one of the thoughts I had early on was, what if I put a pump in here that only allowed the water to go out from these 2 refineries and not come back in? Does that make a difference as far as performance or something? Let's flush the pipe segments that are right here. And as I just saw out of the corner of my eye when I left the one, and now this one hopefully as well, it needs coke. We have an issue producing petroleum coke too. Yes, we are. Okay, we're gonna have to go down there too. But we are getting some, but not much. So we're gonna have to figure that part out too. But we immediately started getting some of this, and that pipe is not full. The issue or question is, and this is like what we talked about with a nuclear plant a few episodes ago, is these produce 40.2 water per minute. Not you. You guys? And you guys. What are you guys doing? Besides something else. Oh, that's iron. These guys consume 100 water per minute. So if I did the aluminum to some balance where I could output all of the water from those other refineries into, say, one of these refineries, and then the rest of them are hooked up to the source coming from the supply, then we could potentially, from out on the coast, then we could potentially make this thing balance. But given the way that water works, and there's no such thing as a priority splitter merger for water, the only other solution I can think of is the pump, because at least then it stops backflow. And here, oh, this pipe is empty, so these are full because these are pushing up, and they kind of have to fight gravity a little bit to push up to, but it's empty here, which is the important part. So basically this pipe needs to get almost full before the water will sort of spill out, whether this is the way that literally works or this is the way that it just appears to work. The water will rise up in pressure kind of thing and spill across here before it gets put into this pipe and pumped out with the pump. But it looks like the pump is doing what I want it to do. But right now we have no coke, so I can't tell for sure. Is that coke coming in there? It is. So there is coke, but it is sparse. So we looked at deuterium, copper, aluminum. Let's just finish up here, and then we'll go all the way down to the refinery and see what's going on with coke. That's still aluminum. Iron should be okay because it doesn't have any feedback loops. Steel should also be okay, but coal might be an issue. Why would coal be an issue? Okay, we'll have to look at that. So coke and coal, of course. These should be fine. What do we have here? That's coal, and that must be the silica coming across. And then this one here is limestone, yes. So what's the issue with coal? We're not producing enough. That's an issue. Okay, we have quartz, which is fine. There's no feedback there. Silica is fine. We're consuming. We have plenty of coal in here, but we don't consume as much here as we do down in the other processes. Yeah, we definitely don't have enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put in a Mark IV belt here. And then sulfur looks fine, and everything else looks fine. Okay, so let's jump down this way. This thing doesn't have any coming into the bottom, which means that the top is being entirely taken, which is fine, but it's not showing off the priority merge. That's all those four coming together. The coal is coming from even further down from there. And this is this quartz. Let's go down and see what's up with the coal. And then we can run down to the other end. This is the sort of debugging kind of thing. I bet you I have a messed up belt somewhere on the chain. A slow belt in the fast belt chain. This is the debugging stuff that kind of has to happen with any system. I mean, if you've watched my Factorio series, especially the last one that I streamed on Twitch, you would have seen that in full force in the last several episodes that I did, or several streams that I did, rather. Yeah, there's something going on here. Let's grab the jetpack so I don't have to take the slow boat down. Oh, that's what's going on right there. This should also be a Mark IV lift. And zippity-doo-dah. That does it. It's amazing how one slow boat, or belt in this case, adversely affects that much everything. Okay, so those are looking good now. That'll take a while for it to catch all the way upstairs. I mean, it's at, what is it, 480, I think it was, per minute. So it won't take very long. They're going pretty fast, but... am I leaving boxes everywhere, by the way? With this full inventory that I forgot to dump? I hope I'm not leaving boxes of shame. Yep, there's one right there. Doggone. And I don't have a shredder down here, so I'm going to have to deal with that later. There's probably another box of shame at the copper thing that I fixed. They show on the map on Satisfactory Calculator if you load in your save, so I will have to deal with that. You know what? I'm gonna run back all the way up and go to the shred box, and then I will pause while I do that, and I will come back down here to the refinery, and you guys can rejoin me there. Alright, and we're back. I'm back down at the refinery. I have some space in my inventory. I probably should have dropped off these organic bits here. But this is the belt here for the coke. It is coming from over here someplace. Right here? Maybe? and we're just not getting enough heavy oil residue in here. Is that because we don't have any? Or because there's an actual problem? Well, let's say we don't have any situation. But now we need to figure out why it's that we don't have any situation. Is there a flow rate issue? We have this pump here, pumping up the jam. It does kind of look like grape jelly, too. Oh, I never noticed that before. Do they show the liquid in the little pump valve things? Pistons, or whatever these are called? I mean, that's purple. I'm assuming so. I just never looked that closely, I don't think. So you're pulling... Why is that speed falling off? Is there an issue with... Climb up there. Is there an issue with somehow with the way this is flowing? By the way, I don't know when I pulled out my laser sword again, but I did. So the amount of flow we should be getting here in this... Let me pull up the calculator that I did. Let's see. Bus plan, heavy oil residue. We should be getting 173. No. We'll be getting 200 even flow rate. Here we're only seeing between 60 and like 120, depending on something. So you guys aren't the ones producing it. Go away. These, oh, we're backed up on polymer resin. But wait, aren't I? Am I not dumping that into a shredder, or do I have a wonked up belt here? I must have something wonky. Well, that's one thing that's wonky. That should be a Mark II belt. If this is all Mark II, that should be Mark II. Polymer resin. $100 polymer resin. So everything should be Mark II, at least from that point. Does that help? At least from this point. And each of these are producing 20. So that would still be... That would be 80 on this belt. So it still needs to be Mark II. 60, that's fine. 60, 60, and 60. Yeah, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 20 is... Yep. So this one is outputting just fine because it's the first one. So it's taking, if it can, half from here to feed along this belt over here. That's kind of how the mergers work, if there's only two inputs, at least as far as I understand it. So that might have been it, though, is that one Mark I belt down there making all the world of difference. And that would cause a shortfall in the heavy oil residue, which means that these refineries aren't getting enough to make the diluted packaged fuel, which means that packaged fuel is not getting into the unpackagers fast enough, which means we would have had a problem with plastic and rubber eventually as well, especially if this didn't happen first. So now that this is going, first off, they can produce enough fabric to feed the filter and iodized filter makers, which the fabric is there. And yeah, there's hardly any fabric on that belt. That whole segment of belt has one fabric on it. So that was definitely an issue. Are these guys getting backed up yet? Let's see if they stop at 200. Okay. And then this one is going to get all of its 200, which is going to take a minute. And then they'll start overflowing into the, well, overflow line to the shredder there. Let's look at how this guy's doing. It should be steadily depleting. So it's adding 2 every tick. Every, what are we at here? 6 seconds. And it's depleting just about as fast as it's producing. No, it's not either. Or it is just about. That could be something to do with the mergers, though. Are we getting a full belt? I may want to upgrade some of these belts along this linear line here. This manifold line. Yeah, let's try doing that. Why won't you let me target that belt? Because there's power lines in the way. If I do that, that allows to pull more from down the line faster. And they're still getting stopped up, but they're going to because of the manifold layout. But hopefully that puts a little bit more heavy oil residue into the system because these aren't all getting backed up anymore. I mean, the problem is like this one was backed up. They were all backed up. So this one's depleting fairly well. This one's depleting fairly well. So those belts probably aren't necessary long term. They probably are fine being Mark 1 belts, but I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt having them be Mark 2s, and at least for now, it might help deplete these guys' backlog a little bit, but it's going to take a while for them to deplete. But that looks like that was the issue with Coke, is that we just weren't producing enough heavy oil residue because we had too much polymer resin. And I could turn the polymer resin into plastic or rubber using whatever that recipe is. Can I put this down here? Yes, I can. Residual, yeah. With the residual rubber, residual plastic, just water and the polymer resin. But we're already producing enough rubber and plastic for the base anyway. And actually it was even suggested in the comments that I could take the surplus, I'll take an overflow splitter, say right here, and shunt any overflow from this whole setup into a sink as well. So we could do that in a future episode. Have you guys finished yet? No. I mean, so technically these take 50.4. They're getting 60 in each one. So they're getting more than they can take. It's just a matter of time to get that build up, it looks like. Are there any other issues down here while I'm down here, while we're waiting for that? Are we getting a little more HOR here? Oh, yes, we are. That fills up almost instantly, and the Coke evacuates in about 2/3 of the time, about 6 seconds in. Should be gone before we hit 70. Yeah, it was gone before we hit 60, which means that the 80.4 we're producing per minute going out on the Mark II belts is in fact doing what we want it to do, because 80.4 divided by 120 is about 2/3. We'll call it 67%. So we don't have this hooked up. We had it. We connected it up and then we turned it off because I'm not sure that I need it. We talked about this a couple of times with the whole priority merger thing, and I think it's doing what I want it to do. But with the backup and short supply of the stuff we just talked about, this isn't a true example. And this right now also isn't a true example because right now we are actually using all of the containers that we're producing here, presumably still at least, because they're going into the mall, into the fuel storage in the mall, the package fuel for my jetpack. So until that box fills up and I stop using it, stop pulling it out of the box, we won't really know for sure how this is working and if we need this shredder or not. I don't think we do. And we could probably just go ahead and turn it on. We're not going to consume any more plastic here than we allocated anyway. So any containers that go into the shredder, pretty much we don't need. But we could talk about that when we do the overflow sink sort of episode. Okay, so I'm gonna go around the back way here that I put in. I don't know, we were down here working on this at some point, and we'll head back upstairs. And actually, I'm gonna go all the way up and see if I can find that box of shame that I might have left at the that lift we fixed for copper. And I also have some other cleanup to do up there. Oh, you know what? Actually, I don't even need this. Let's just climb the ladder here. If I didn't do any of these maneuvers on an episode, I've done that a few times. Climbed the refinery and hopped over. I like how that looks. We obviously talked about this a long time ago when I set this up, but I like the way that this looks because kind of, it's kind of a break in the normal flow of the factory a little bit here with all the smelting up here. But because they're so big, I had to do it, and it kind of looks cool to me. Kind of the factory, multi-layered factory here. Okay, so what was the issue? I forgot what the issue was now. It was these lifts. So I have a box of shame at every single one of these lifts. That's going to be a nightmare. Alright, climb. Can I not reach in there and get that? Nope, I can't. Well, that means if I want this to work, I need to do that. And then I need to do that. Every time. Oh wait, maybe there weren't boxes of shame at every single one. Maybe just the last one? Okay, well, there weren't any, so that's good. Okay. That's going like crazy. It's crazy, crazy how fast those belts are. And people want another tier of belts. This is the first box here. Trash. I'm just going to take it all and shred it all. Oh, I can't take it all. Yeah, I can. Oh, I get a box of shame of 6 things. Can I do this? Oops. And I won't be able to pick that one up. Let's go visit the shredder again. And I want to tear up this belt here too, because it's not necessary anymore. So let's see. All of that can go. These and these can all go. A few of those can go. This was Coke that we had in the box. I guess we could have... we could have used that. Oh well. And then let's put these, and these in there. And that'll be good. Now, let's get back up there. Could have climbed the miner as well. And I might have had to. Oh, I made it. Excellent. Let's... Yep, good. Deconstructing that worked. With this, I fixed that belt there. We need to take out this stackable here. I'm also giving the Coke a chance to catch up here, if it hasn't already. I want to check that, make sure that's working out fine. Probably gonna hurt. Oh, okay, good. This goes. And this goes. And then this is going to stay for now because this is my shredding box. We can probably get rid of a couple of these concretes. Don't really need that much. Holy cow, there's a lot of iron plates here. That's probably enough. Leave those as well. I probably have too much cable and concrete still. Iron plates still. But at least it's an improvement. Okay. What is in this box? Oh, there's my fix-it tickets. Excellent. And I probably have a ton more in the shredder that I didn't even look at. Okay, so let's go... Actually, let's go back over here to the shredder. 34. Not a ton. We could buy something else, I suppose. Now let's take a look again here at aluminum. And specifically the coke coming in. We have plenty now. That's good. Water is loading slowly? Why is water loading slowly? Or sorry, that's alumina. Why is alumina loading slowly? There's plenty in the pipe. Isn't there? I mean, this pipe shows 70 per minute flow rate. Oh, we're using 160 per minute. What is up here then? Water. That's a problem. There should be a pipe there. This pipe wasn't really getting used. I mean, it was balanced here, so it was getting used the wrong way around. But it wasn't really getting used. That'll make a difference. Oh yeah, that makes a little bit of a difference. So, because we're using 100 per minute of water, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, although were these all clocked at the same? It might not have all been clocked the same. If there's one that's different, it's the first one or the last one, as always. But if that's 400, and there's only 300 in the pipe, yeah, that would be a problem, which is why we have it balanced at the ends, so that overflow from the iron, which is only 20 per minute, times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that could come back around and flow in the other direction if it needs to. And as you can see, it is currently flowing to the right, based on the way that the little rings are pulsing. The leftmost one is pulsing out first, and then they're working their way to the right. Like this one is working its way toward me here. That one is working its way in this direction. So that probably fixed that issue. Probably. We are now outputting... Maybe we should still be getting 160 out of these, and we're not. 60. Yeah, 160. Well, maybe we are. It's just bursty because of the outputs. Like it's not a stable output. It's a pulsed output. As long as that stays full, then it's fine. Because it's not even outputting all of the aluminum scrap that it's producing. This being so low is a bit worrisome, but that one being so high is interesting. How much are we using of that? 40. So this one's going to max out because it's going to pull 60 off of this splitter. It's going to pull half of whatever comes in here down off of the splitter down to here. So this is going to back up first, and then the rest of it's going this way. So I guess as long as this keeps going, we're doing okay. And it's not even exporting everything. So I think it's okay. Here we're outputting the water again. We definitely have a flow rate. We definitely don't have a full pipe up there. Again, these are going to be full before this is full anyway because of gravity. So I think that's okay. I don't know if this is a good permanent solution or not, but I think it'll work. And the important part here is that those pulses are pulsing in that direction. More than anything else, that's the most important part. Because that means that the water coming out of these two is going back into the system. Okay, so we looked at that. Coal was the next issue that we fixed. And coal is now backed up here. So that's a good thing. We're overwhelming it with coal. And we may not have enough steel. We should have 60 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is 540 minus some amount. Let me see if I can figure out how much steel we actually are supposed to be producing here. Looking at, looks like it's 481, which is a Mark 5 belt because a Mark 4 belt, no, logistics Molly, is only 480, and we need one more steel, which is probably not a true statement, but I don't care. It's, yeah. So we're using 2/3 of this belt, whatever 480 divided by 720 is, or 480 divided by 780, excuse me. So that's, yeah, it's about 2/3, a little less than 2/3, I think, maybe 60% or something. And I don't feel like that looks like 60%. So there's something else up. What is up? Are we not getting coal down here yet? We're not getting iron down there yet. Okay, what's up with iron then? Okay, these are Mark II lifts. These are all Mark II lifts. This last one is full and hardly exporting. Is this the same situation as we had down below, where the belts just aren't moving everything along quite right? Wait, how much was it per minute? 65. Which is, so that's 65 here, 130 here, 195 there. That would be 260, so that does need to go up to, that is a Mark III because it's 270, and then here we have a Mark IV because we add another 65, so that's 325. Clocked down to 320.8. No. 321.1. Yeah. Well, there's a problem right there. That's a Mark III lift. That's a Mark I belt. How about now? These ones were all starved. Because this should be splitting half. So we have making two, what was the number again? I forgot already. 320.1, 321.1. We need 320.8, but so we should be splitting about 160 into each. side, and we weren't. We were splitting 60 that way. So that should make a difference. And these ones were the ones that were starving. I'm assuming the other ones weren't. Are we now getting rid of some of this? Hard to say because it just started. But these ones should have plenty of iron. Yeah, these ones have plenty of iron. So the issue was that one belt segment. And it's going to be a moment until this truly shows 60% usage. But I think it's getting fuller. It looks fuller. We're going to hope that that's correct. Concrete must be done being used now, loading into the mall. Oh, we had already filled it up a long time ago. So of course it is. These guys are slow and pokey, but that's what they're supposed to be. Does that really downclock it that much? Yeah, it does drop it by a bit. And then this one here is actually a expander, like it consumes 1755 and produces 29.2. 4 of those coming together, which is a Mark II belt, because if you call this 30, that's 120. And then there should be 80 coming from here. And so we can take a look at this again. Oops. Fall damage. I was trying to aim for the belt or the merger or something and didn't hit there. So based on the way this works, this belt, if this stops consuming everything, which it's not, or which it is still consuming everything, this belt should back up before this one does. At least hopefully. But we're not going to see that right now because we're making crazy amounts of silicone circuit boards and silicone high-speed connectors. And wasn't there a third thing that silica was being used by? No, just those two. So when it's being used by those two processes, it's using everything. Which means we don't want this output here because 1 out of every 300 or whatever the number is would get thrown into the trash. Not that that really matters much, but it would. And then, so those are getting used full force right now. But eventually those will stop being made. And then we will have a backup here. Okay, what are you making? And why aren't you making a lot of it? Steel pipes. Steel pipes. Are steel pipes an issue, or is it just a supply issue? We are making, should be making 260 steel pipes. And the Case Industrial Pipe is using 112 of those. So that could just be a sort of balance issue. Like this is taking a full 60, but it's only going to need 20. So until those buffers filled up kind of situation. What was the number again on pipe? 260. This is a Mark III belt, so it should effectively be full. You can see a single gap every so often, or partial gap every so often, but it should effectively be full. And it looks like it is. So right now it's just probably just a balancing issue. Assuming these are all, oh, I know what it was. We weren't producing enough steel. So they weren't getting enough steel. So they weren't producing enough pipe. Now, hopefully, we are producing enough steel. And so these guys can start producing enough pipe. That looks like a pretty good lift full there. We do have a belt in there, which is Mark IV. That's good. Because a little bit of it is going that way. Or... oh, the plates, the iron plates, or the rods, rather. And plates. Rods and plates, yes. So that makes sense. That's a Mark IV. Then we take off a Mark III, and then we continue a Mark III this way, and into there for the other pipes. These guys were also starved out of steel, and they just now have enough. So that makes sense as well. So I think that was the problem there, is we're starved out of steel. These are backed up, and these are still zooming in, but they'll get caught up eventually, I think. It was just unfortunate that we were drawing too much when we didn't have enough, or drawing so much when we didn't have enough. Let's see, here we have copper wire. I think that's fine. The belt looks full going out. I don't know how much we're supposed to have here, but I think it's fine. Actually, that's the mixed quick wire, or Caterium. The fused wire, that's what it's called. And this is fused quick wire. Those looked fine before when we were staring at it at the mall. It is just flying, but it looks like it's handling it. There's a couple of gaps, but that could just be buffer issue. Otherwise, this belt, I think, is full or effectively full. These are 90 times 4, and 4 is 8. That's 720. So no, this actually isn't full. This is 720 out of 780. And then the last one there is going into this belt, which is going directly into the mall, and there's 90 there. We don't need the full 720 here, though. We're only using 710, 715, something like that. So it should be fine. These should actually start backing up a little. The ones on the far end probably are, or they will once the buildings all fill up and stop overproducing. So I think we might have straightened everything out. That looks like at least it looks like we have. Hopefully we have. And then in the next episode, or in another episode, which one I do next, I'm not sure. We can look at setting up some overflow sinks in some areas to consume some of the higher value products instead of letting the systems die. Even things like aluminum ingots would be potentially smart to do the overflow sink on, because of the circular process there, and even things down in the oil refinery, like rubber and plastic, would be good because of some of the circular processes down there. Either the fuel or the empty containers would be good. I guess probably the fuel is better to consume. It's probably worth more points, and it keeps the factory moving a little bit more. So any things like that, and then also we have probably an episode of hypertubing. So any other ideas you have for what to do as far as additional features of the game, things that I haven't covered, things you'd like to see, by all means, let me know in the comments, and I will see you all in the next episode. So thank you all for joining me, and I will see you then. Bye for now.